So, Marietta, what do you think, or what qualifications do you think an instructor should have, whether they're teaching in the physical classroom or they're teaching online, if they're going to teach makeup?
I actually believe that they should have had some kind of proper training, um, other than makeup on themselves. I strongly believe that they should have had some kind of basic class in teaching students. Something with classroom management. Classroom management is huge. Um, I I just feel they need some kind of structure, instruction, and not just because they're good at their craft to just go and teach, students, because you might be missing half the students in that class because you don't know how to get through to them, and the ability to pay attention. It's like being in the classroom today is so different than 15, 20 years ago. It's the students are different.
Yeah.
The way they learn is different. The attention span is very short. So to be able to grasp the attention, one of the things that I do in the morning, the first thing my class starts off with an affirmation, three affirmations. That's the first thing my class starts off with, and a brain drain.
Hmm.
So it depends on how they come in. I might do the brain drain first. And when they walk through the door, it's like pick up the cat, you know, walk my dog, do laundry, whatever's going through. It's like a minute or two of just getting it out of their heads, just so they can focus and be in the room. I got to get them into the room.
Right.
And then an affirmation or two or three. Um, and I make them stand and speak. You can't sit in my class and speak. You got to stand and speak.
Oh, okay.
Because a lot of them don't have confidence. A lot of them don't know how to speak. Half of them don't know how to spell. Can't spell, can't write. It's
Wow.
horrible. So I make them stand and speak. I make them project,
Hmm.
because if you've got to do a production meeting, no, that's not going to
Right.
work. So you
Right.
stand and speak. So some of them are shy. So I give them exercises. Go to Starbucks and talk to the person in front, the person behind. You'll never see them again. So who cares? Just talk to them. Strike up the conversation.
Right.
So it's just all things like that. Um, when they write essays or they do research, they have to read. I don't read PowerPoints in class. I make them read them. I don't stand and read none of that stuff. I make them go through the homework. They got to read the lessons. They got to read the questions and answer them. So I make them do that aspect of stuff in the classroom. So if you don't know any of that, you're going to be lost in the classroom teaching students. I
Yeah.
mean, these classes are a lot smaller now. I used to have 24 students in my class.
How many do you have now?
Sometimes five, six,
Oh,
a lot
wow.
smaller, more personalized and stuff, but that's going to grow
Yeah.
because students who heard I'm back at the school, there's some of them coming back for a refresher
A
course.
refresher. Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
nice. Nice.
Yeah. So I think people need to take the time out. Go take a class if you want to teach, go take a class at a community college or something to learn how to be an instructor.
So basically, you're saying today's graduate can't be tomorrow's instructor
No, sorry.
because you know that happens
It happens way too often.
way too often.
Way too often. You don't have any experience to bring into the classroom. You just left the classroom yourself.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's just like being in film and television as a makeup artist. You did one little indie film, and now you're ready to be department head.
That right there.
It's exactly what it's like.
Yep, that right there. That right there. That right there. Today I listened to Taraji P. Henson's commencement speech at Spelman. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it. It was so profound and so appropriate for today.
Hmm.
Um, and because a lot of the kids that come in there, they have short attention spans. Some of them are dealing with anxiety. They're dealing with so many issues that we didn't deal with.
Mhm.
And then add the internet to that. And then they all busy comparing themselves to what's going on in the internet stuff. And she said something that I always say, you keep looking at that green grass. She said that green grass is astroturf. And it's so true. I died when I heard it's so true, And she said, your purpose is not Denise's or Janice's purpose. So you got to find where you fit in. And that's the other thing. A lot of these kids who come to school, it's like, I want to do this. Yeah, but you got to match your personality to where you're going to achieve success. Because you want to do it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to achieve success in that arena.
Right.
And so I don't try to kill their dreams, but I also try to make them think about who they are as a person and let that guide them to where in the industry they need to just zone in
And focus, yeah.
and focus because you might be better in the lab area because you're not in sculpting and molding and stuff because you're not that outgoing and you don't want to deal with people. You love people, but you don't want to be around them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So for you to run a show might not be your forte. Some don't belong in the trailer.
Yeah.
So it's like finding where you are going to fit in because wherever your personality is, that's where you're going to excel.
Right.
And so I try to tell them the truth about the industry and not sugarcoat it. And my last class, one of the students said, I'm so glad I took this class. It was a lot of material, it was overwhelming, but it made me solidify how much I want to work in a lab.
Hmm. Nice.
And to me, that was great. And that's what we need to do. You need to be able to give them the truth about the industry and let them realize that they can't be thin skinned because the first time an actor says, I don't like that, you can't cry and carry on. You can't take it personal,
Right.
and stuff. So it's important for them to understand where they're going to fit in because where they're going to fit in is where they're going to thrive.
Right.
And I think that that's critical. And I think a lot of people who are in the classroom or who are doing classes, they don't understand the dynamics involved in and the responsibility in teaching these students and stuff. It's not just about makeup. You don't have to be the best makeup artist. Forget all that. I mean, you don't have to perfect the eyeliner and do a wing liner and stuff. That's not what's gonna make you successful.
That's right.
There's so much more that goes with it. Because again, we're doing characters. And what is happening now is people are losing the fact that it shouldn't look like somebody came to your house in the morning and did your makeup when you're working on Wall Street and that's your character. You know what I mean?
Right.
It needs to look like you've done it yourself, but not distracting.
Right.
And that I think is the biggest thing that people who come from outside without any training, who have been pulled into the industry because they're great makeup artists and because they do the client, the actor as a person
Not
for
the character.
these red carpet events and
Hmm.
the premieres and all this stuff and the press junkets, that doesn't necessarily translate to you being a good makeup artist in film
No, not at all.
because you're going to bed with a full face of makeup
Right. Right.
or you wake up
With a
with a
full face.
lipstick and eyelashes and stuff. Who
Yeah.
does
And
that?
you can't have these actors having you doing that red carpet stuff on film either.
That's the other thing. No, that's not. That's the red carpet. That's not how you're gonna look as the character.
Right.
So don't tell me contour your nose like that, because I ain't gonna do it. And no, them 6 foot eyelashes that fly aren't gonna work.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it just, I mean, you know, if you're gonna be the character, you gotta be able to be stripped down or dressed up
Yep.
or beaten up
Yep. That's right. Or bloody.
or bloody, you know. And I watch stuff and I see we've lost so much of that.
Yeah.
And because makeup appliers are doing makeup.
Right. Right. Makeup appliers.
That they're not storytelling.
That's right.
We are storytellers. We are not just makeup art. We are storytellers. We create the evolution of that character through the makeup and here in the wardrobe. We are storytellers, and until we see ourselves as such, we're gonna keep doing the same stupidness that you know that
Yeah. Okay,
I
last
mean,
question for you. What advice would you give a new artist starting out who wanted to take some type of course or individual classes? Like where should they start?
start reaching out, looking, um, search up on the internet first of all and see what pops up.
Mhm.
See if anything pops up in your local area. And then vet that person, look and see what that person has done. Look at their resume, look at their website, look at their Instagram, look at their TikTok, look at all of that. Then reach out to students that have gone through their classes.
Mhm.
Reach out, get testimonials from former students.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that that's the best thing you can do for yourself, you know. I'm not going to drop $1,200 into somebody
Right.
who has no clue
Right.
how to teach me to do makeup on somebody else's face.
Right.
Why would you do that? Or see what their educational background is, see what they've done, see what training they have. Not just they've done makeup for 20 years. That's not enough.
Right.
You've got to, you owe it to yourself.
Yeah, because there are a lot of makeup artists who've been doing makeup for 20 years, but they've just been getting by somehow.
A lot of people in this industry have winged it their whole careers.
Yeah.
They've ringed it their whole, look at the shows like Premiere and all of them and see what educators are out there. And then, but again, whoever you choose, whatever school, vet it properly. You've got to vet it. That's your homework. It's your responsibility before you dump
Right.
that money or sign that contract. Vet, what have they done? Can I speak to some of your former students?
Right. I know she said that was the last question, but let me just ask you this really quickly because I was talking to my sister about this earlier. I feel like people now, like when you go on Instagram, you see all these classes being offered, and it doesn't matter what industry it is, but you see all of these classes being offered where the person is speaking as if they are the authority on whatever the subject matter is. For instance, let's just use maybe photography or makeup artistry. Like you'll have a photographer on there want to teach you a class about how, photography business, how to be a success, get your ideal client. Um, you know, uh, Same thing in makeup and same thing with all these other different industries, but they're no longer talking about photography. They're no longer talking about makeup and how to apply or teaching somebody like you're talking about the basics and the fundamentals. They're not doing that. They're talking about how you can make more money, how you can make six figures, how you can set up your studio, all of these things that really you can figure out at some point on your own, trial and error or what have you, but the fundamentals, the basics, that's not being taught. So the thing that's so scary about that is that's what you're getting online. And then there are hardly any more schools. So it's just kind of like a
I
scary,
know.
scary fact. Like, what's going to happen?
You know what? I've been seeing so much of that in my feed these days, and I'm thinking the same thing. It's like, where are we going as a society? We still need brick and mortar facilities. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Hmm.
We still need brick and mortar. I mean, because we've lost so much already. It's like, again, I look at these students that I just had, and they're like, I didn't realize there was so much to learn.
Hmm.
I didn't realize that there was this aspect of it. I didn't realize, because those are things that are missing completely on the internet.
Yeah.
People are posting all the physical, but why am I doing it? Why am I putting the contour? Everybody's there. Does she need the contour? There's no why as to why I'm doing it.
Right.
It's paint by number, cookie cutter, stamp, stamp, stamp. But there's no why. Why am I highlighting the forehead?
Right.
Every single person and all the professionals are doing it the same way too. They're
Yep.
all doing the same thing, the same contour. Doop, 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 right? Doop, doop, doop.
Yep.
It's all the same thing in the
Same
same
stuff.
places, regardless of the facial structure.
Hmm.
And I don't understand, because there is no why. The why is missing.
That's it.
The why is missing. It wears me out.
Yeah.
I know. I
Yeah.
send you guys sometimes some of the craziest, because you go, okay, but you have to ask yourself, every single thing you learn, every single thing you see, does it really belong in every face?
Right.
I
And no, it
mean,
doesn't. It
it
doesn't.
doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's like, if there's no need to do this J-Lo Halo,
That's right. Why are you doing it?
why
Right.
are you doing it? Now her
Mhm.
hairline starts down here. And that contour with the nose thing, that just cracks me up, because it just looks like two stripes down the nose. Well, now it's like brown mud down the nose.
Yeah.
It's not even two stripes. So the why is missing. People are just copying each other without asking any questions. There's no why. There's no,
Right.
it's
That's a
it's
whole
it's
show, a whole
a
show in
whole
another
show.
show. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
'Cause-
It's amazing and
wow.
stuff. But so these are the things I'm experiencing now, and I come home and I do homework to try to make it better.
Mm.
I'm always doing homework. I'm always, I learn a lot from my students, and I ask them a lot of questions, because I too want to know, what are you expecting from the class, and what did
Right.
you get in reference to what you expected?
Right.
Am I missing something? Tell me what I need to do, what I need to improve. So it's a two-way thing,
Yeah.
yeah. you know.
Well, thank you so much, Marietta. We really appreciate it. This was a great conversation. I just feel like we're missing, structured education. And I don't know if we'll necessarily be having a lot more schools in the near future or anything like that, but
Yeah.
it's kind of sad to see that we don't have a lot of that. I just remember the day there was so much offered and so many people who were experienced 20, 30 years and teaching classes, and we don't have a lot of that anymore. So I mean, I don't know what's gonna become of this industry, but I guess we just have to wait and see. And
Yeah,
you
we
just
just have
you keep doing what you do. At least we Right. know a small group of people will have our knowledge and understanding that they need.
I am not gonna take it with me, I promise. I'm gonna leave it for those youngsters to learn.
Yes. They just got to be open. Just got to be
Yep.
open. Absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Of
Thank you
course.
so much. We greatly
So
appreciate you.
one last thing, if anyone's interested in that course in Fort Lauderdale, how can they find out more information about it?
Cosmix is online. Cosmix School of Makeup Artistry
Okay,
in Fort Lauderdale.
okay.
They've got TikTok, because now they're up in the social media now. Now that a lot of things are changing. So Cosmic School for Fort Lauderdale, or they can reach out to me and I'll point them in the right direction.
And that's Cosmix.
Yeah, Cosmic School of Makeup
Okay.
Artistry.
All right. Well, there you have it.
All right. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
ladies.
All
Everyone,
Thank
righty.
you. You guys have a blessed week.
you do
You
the
as
same.
well.
Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you
you.
guys for tuning in. Have a great night.
Good night.
Good night.